let's talk about The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the second in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, and I guess the fifth or something in the wider realm of the Oldlings series of fantasy books. What I do, as I normally do with second, third, whatever books in a series, is I'll give a completely non-spoiler, couple of minute review just to say, if you're thinking about reading the series, this is a good or a bad continuation of it. And then I'll spend a bit of time, which will lightly spoil Live Ship Traders, the first book in the trilogy. Ship of Magic, the first book in the trilogy. But I won't spoil this. So this is a continuation of a story where there's basically sentient ships. People, these are very kind of difficult to get and very lucrative to trade in, and you can sail around doing stuff in them. And the fact it's a live ship makes it better. And you've got a load of intertwining major plots. Some of them are about humans and some are not. So let's put it that way. You've got issues of politics. It's heavily political, also heavily family saga oriented as a series. And I quite enjoyed the first book. The big thing here is that the biggest problem is it's just much too long. It's about twice as long as it needs to be. It's 900 pages. It could be 450, 500. I think fairly comfortably. There is a very serious issue of editing discipline here, the complete failure. That obscures what are deeper strengths. So there are lots of good things going on that are interesting. The depiction and creation of a world and the mysteries that Hobb is setting up in the world, that she starts seeding some of these mysteries in the first trilogy, the Farseer trilogy too. You can read those first two independently. They then begin to converge more and more. But she seeded mysteries that are beginning to be picked up about different things in the world, different issues, both politics and world building things. The family saga stuff is exceptionally well done. The character arcs, the major characters are exceptionally interesting most of the time. But what I mean is the concept of the character and the general thrust of the character and the development of the character are really effective and good. So I'm reading this and I'm like, yeah, great, this is fun, I enjoy this character doing this, or oh wow, how are they going to deal with this challenge, or this is a real crisis for them. But it's the fact it's taking me 30 or 40 pages. I suppose a chapter is very often 20 to 30 pages. So let's say it's taking a chapter of that length to accomplish stuff that another writer, there's a spectrum here, but another writer might do a lot more efficiently. At the insane other end, you might have your Robert E. Howard's Conan, just bish bash bosh, everything happens on a page, next page, completely different place, But there are other people along that spectrum. You have the efficient Brandon Sanderson writes long books, and they're just very efficient at doing the stuff they need to do. Or Gene Wolfe on the terse side, from his mid to late career at least, but so insanely communicative via that. And I think it's a problem for me that there are sometimes, basically a big thing for Hobb is that where a single image could do, she'll use 2 or 3, where a single depiction of the same problem for a character she'll do it twice, 3 times. You get a lot of what becomes, I think for me, repetitive internal dialogue, or monologue, sorry. So yeah, is it good? Kind of. It's very effective at certain things, and it is a fascinating development of what's happened in the previous book. And the previous book was really quite fun, but it's so long that it deadens its own impact. So I haven't read the third book yet, so I can't say, oh well, was it really worthwhile overall? But I'd say I'm glad I've read it. I'm looking forward at some point this year to reading the third book. This has certainly dampened my enthusiasm about continuing on to the next trilogy and so forth. So end of super non-spoiler. Light spoilers for the first book in this series, or some spoilers. So here we have, this is the blurb. Again, spoils the first book. The Vestrit family's live ship Vivacia has been taken by the pirate king Kennet. Held captive on board, Wintrow Vestrit finds himself competing with Kennet for Vivacia's love as the ship slowly acquires her own bloodlust. Leagues away, Althea Vestrit has found a new home aboard the live ship Ophelia, but she lives only to reclaim the Vivacia, and with her friend Brashen she plans a dangerous rescue. Meanwhile, in Bingtown, the fading fortunes of the Vestrit family lead Malta deeper into the magical secrets of the Rainwild traders. And just outside Bingtown, Amber dreams of relaunching Paragon, the mad live ship. So you've got major plots to do with Wintrow and Kennet on Vivacia, so with Vivacia as well, and Etta as well. You've got Althea and Grag Tenera and the Tenera family of the live ship Ophelia, and the way in what she finds out about Vivacia having gone missing, and you have Brashen trying to working out what he's meant to be doing next. You have a new character called Amber. I think she's new to this one, and the mad live ship Paragon, and you have Malta and Rain Kupris, who you met in the first book in Ship of Magic, and Malta, kind of difficult, annoying Malta, who's growing up through the books, really being the one who enters into the mysteries that are going to start revealing a lot more about the world to us, And those all intertwine and set up different things at points quite successfully. The character arcs and the things that are happening with characters, let's put it that way, are often good. There is a bit of a reset for Malta. It feels like things that happened in the first book are somewhat brushed over, and then we kind of have a base state Malta to work with to do what Hobb wants to do in this book. But Malta's arc is pretty good. It's good. I appreciated it. A point of view character, Keffria gets some point of view. Not necessarily that's not the most exciting, though. Again, there is some development. Kennet and Wintrow and Etta and Vivacia, there's some good stuff going on there with Kennet and his idea of being a king, Wintrow dealing with these conflicting feelings about things, and Althea and Brashen. Brashen probably the stronger there, and the stuff with Paragon is interesting as well. I'm saying all this, basically all the stuff with the characters, all the plots, good, but you got to cut. You need to cut 40% of it. It is simply the case that, as I've already said, that Hobb is writing two scenes where she needs one. She's communicating. There's a desire to get across the interiority of the characters, but it's something. So when Joe Abercrombie does it, sometimes in books that are very slightly too long or struggle with plot, that's obviously a criticism of Abercrombie. I mean, maybe a few people say they're too long. The point is, it feels purposive, and it feels like there's pace within the character arc, even if there's not pace within the plot. Here, there really are times where you're just dealing with a repetition of something, or virtual repetition, and there's no condensation of action. There's no focus. I enjoyed it. I thought I was glad to finish it. I did pause at points because I was struggling to push on. But mostly what I realised was I had to sit down and just read 100 pages in a day, which is not something I can't always do that, but I just had to be like, nope, I'm just going to sit here, read this, do a bit now, do a bit after dinner, do a bit before bed, actually hammer this out, actually get this done, because if you go like I'll read it 10 pages a day, 15 pages a day, that's how much I can spare before bed. You will just never finish this book, not just because it takes a long time, but because you'll stop. I think most people will just get bored and think, I've read 15 or 20 pages and nothing happened. I've spent 15 or 20 pages with a character who is maybe going to be interesting, but is in the process of becoming interesting, and that makes them annoying. And I'd say, just this is not intended to be a spoiler, just in terms of you have difficult characters, Kennet, Althea, Brashen, Malta, they are all quite difficult characters. They're intended to be. Wintrow may be slightly different. Wintrow is in some ways meant to be a sympathetic surrogate, but Wintrow's suffering a lot of trauma, so you've got a different thing going on there. That's kind of very much more of a Fitz problem in some ways, and from Farseer trilogy. So you've got all these. So you might read 20 pages with a character you don't like. The next day you read 20 pages, and nothing happens, and you'll be justified in stopping reading it on that experience. And that's a shame, because there's so much good in here, and the mysteries being set up for Ship of Destiny are so interesting, and it's so exciting seeing some of the things come together in what isn't a particularly tight or focused ending, but is nonetheless, compared to I think some of the Farseer endings, are actually very good. So it's not very focused, but it gets there, and the stuff that's getting there is actually really fun and exciting. But yeah, that is my rather mixed review. I mean, many people like it a lot more than I do. Maybe you do. Tell me in the comments what you think about it. And I guess what in general, how for you Robin Hobb books rank. I am thinking also of reading one of her Megan Lindholm books, Wizard of the Pigeons, which is quite short. It's like 300 pages. Presumably there'll be one chapter about someone wandering around being grumpy. But yes, anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. Till next time.